Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my beautiful and wonderful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously. So, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So, it's nearly 20 past 3 in our old afternoon, my delicious little babies. And it's very grey sky, there's no wind. No wind, no rain, although it's been peeing down all day, my delicious little babies. And yeah, it's rather chilly, but other than that, it's all right in my neck of the woods in our old England. Now, my delicious babies, I want to say something to you. I want to show you a plate. And I want to show you a pair of knicky knacks. You know. What's that label? Is it Marks and Sparks? Okay, my delicious little baby. So yeah, these are just what you call Bridget Jones. Okay, my delicious little babies. Okay, these are Bridget Jones Nicky Knacks. Okay, bright red. Now, the old-fashioned saying is, which is Jamaican, which is that when you have a pair of these Nicky Knacks, if you wear them red at night, you're going to keep bad spirit away. You know what I mean, Martin? Babies, yes. Now, I remember decades ago, being 52, okay? I'm still young. There we are. I'm still young, Marty babies. Oh, let's just put my lights on. See, I've got my lights the other way today, Marty babies. So 3, 2, 1, Margie's little lights. Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright. See, I always have them to the left, but I've got them to the right today, Marty babies, anyway. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Now then, Martin babies, if you look at me, it looks like I've got like a hooded top on, but it's just my hair. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now then, what do I want to talk about? So yeah, so we got the plate and we got the knicky knacks. What could we say if you put the knicky knacks on a plate? Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Yes. Now then, what do I also want to talk about? Yeah. So I want, and I've seen a lot of bobbles around. Yeah. Okay, my delicious babies. So yes, there we are. I am keeping up to date with everything. Of course, McDonald's, the old Ronald McDonald, what do they call them? Cartons of drinks or something. Mind you, I actually seen Amazon, where Amazon now, they're not only doing vans, my little babies, they're doing these little kind of little trucks, like what you'd see in China. Okay, my little babies. So it's the same kind of little trucks. So it's a bit like a golf buggy. There we are. Okay, my little babies. It's a bit like a little golf buggy. Golf buggy, my delicious babies, where you just pot one hole in, pot another hole in, pot another hole in, pot another hole. Do you know what I mean, my delicious babies? Yes. Well, now it seems that the employees are going to be having one of these little golf buggies. And then for others, they're going to be pushing a little cart. Now, I remember doing a video, there we are, many months ago, when I was talking about these little carts, that they had in London now then. Okay. So it seems that maybe if you're lower rank, there we are, lower rank, that doesn't mean no. That if you're lower rank, you're going to have to push that cart. What does that take you back to, my delicious babies? If we go back decades and decades ago, that goes back to horse and cart, doesn't it, my delicious babies? It seems to myself that whoever's running the world, for whatever reason it may be, to whom it may concern, is clearly trying to send everybody, there we are, before I even say it, back in time. You know that song, Culture Club? Time won't give me time. Time makes the lovers feel that they got something real. But you and me, we know we got nothing but time. Slightly off with the last bit of the key. There we are. My delicious little babies. So they're wanting to take everybody, there we are, back. There we are, in time. And I've known this, there we are, long time. But the question is, there we are, is anybody else, ding, ding, dong, dong, there we are, getting it? Because whatever's going on in a telepathic way, there we are. It's like I feel like I'm in, and I'm going to mention it again, like you're in the Saw film, but it's like you're going through, what you're going through, the way I see it, my babies, okay, is that what's happening here is that they're trying, there we are, to get something across, there we are, to everybody, just like the Twix brothers. They're trying to get everything across so that, there we are, that ones understand, there we are, but they're just not getting it. Now, yes, I do agree that you've got one half of the brother, because brothers in arms and all that, you know what I mean, Martish babies, okay? That they're trying to do one thing now, but you got the other side, there we are, who's trying, there we are, to do another. Because what you're dealing with, who's in the world right now, there we are, who's in the world right now, what there we are, before I even say what they're trying to do, they know, there we are, that this is, and he's a dark-headed gentleman. He's only about, I would say, there we are, in his late 30s, early 40s. And what he's, there we are, trying to do is trying to turn the world around. Because I do, there we are, because I do not feel that he actually wants it himself. No, he doesn't. There we are. He doesn't. But you've got, there we are, the other side, because we've moved on, haven't we, from the Rothschilds, from the Rockefellers. Some would say, well, we haven't. Well, actually, there we are, we have. But there we are, but you're just not getting it. Okay? So they're having to do, there we are, all of these other different things now to get ones of us out here, there we are, to see what's going on. Okay, they're also trying to show you with the Amazon where they've cut everything down. Then they showed you when they went to this so-called fucking meeting. Okay, that what they're doing is that then it's like thunder, lightning, and then it turns into flames. What does it take? There we are, for ones to see it. They're doing their best, there we are, to let you see what's going on. Because deep down, there we are, as putrid as they have behaved, there we are, and they have behaved in a very putrid and disgusting and awful way. There we are. At the same time, you got one, there we are, you got one who doesn't want it, and that doesn't mean yes. Stop the yes, no, silly damn business. Stop it. There we are. Stop it in its tracks. Stop it. Handle on it. Okay, my delicious babies. I want to talk about witches. I've been hearing on a lot of different a lot of different channels now, my delicious babies. They're talking about witches. So, what is a witch? Now, when my beautiful, dear little mama bear was young, everybody, there we are, in my neighbourhood, used to call her, I would have said, I wouldn't even say community, I wouldn't say neighbourhood, I would have said mankind around us. But that's just, there we are, my feelings, there we are, on how I feel, okay? My beautiful, dear little, there we are, mama bear used to be called a witch. There we are. Okay, my delicious babies, now, as everybody knows who's been so very kind enough to listen to me, look at this. You know, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Whoa, I'm an alien. Okay, my delicious babies. Anyway, let's get back to the matter in hand. So my beautiful, my beautiful dear little mama bear used to be called a witch, where we used to live. And well, basically, there we are. Whatever she did, there we are, and it come from the Irish now and the Bangladeshi. Okay, my delicious babies, which I never knew any of this, so I have to make this abundantly clear, because I never knew that my beautiful dear little mama bear was half Bangladeshi and half Irish. I never knew that. Even when, to the point that I got my birth certificate, I never looked at my beautiful dear little mama bear's name, which I'm not going to say. I never looked as if to say, well, that was foreign. I never once looked at that. I just thought, okay, this is my birth certificate. This is what I've got. So I see my dad's name. Oh, I love my dear dad. I love my dear beautiful little mama bear. I love them, but they're both so beautiful. I should stop saying that, but it's just that me and my dad just do not get on. Anyway, the point is that they're both so beautiful. I should stop saying that. Anyway, I've got to stop myself. I'm sorry, dear dad. I've got to stop myself from saying that, okay? But the fact of the matter is that when I looked at birth and names, but when I received my birth certificate, I never sort of looked at myself and thought, oh, okay, you know, this is what my beautiful dear little mama bear was. No, I never. I just received the birth certificate and I thought, okay, well, you got two different surnames at the time. You know, they got married after, and then, you know, whatever happened after that. But anyway, go back to the witches business now. So, witches, you know, red is an important colour, isn't it, Martish babies? Let's just crush up the red knickknacks now, pants. Well, the fact of the matter is, Martish babies, that when we talk about the colour red and witches, so does that mean that thousands of witches in the world, which is what happened, should have been, there we are, executed and murdered? Murderers, there we are. just for being able, there we are, to see, there we are, what was going on in the world. So there we are. So you're classed as a witch if you can see ahead. I remember going, I've said this years ago, I remember going down to a dear social club where they said, oh, you know, we'll have a psychic night. And, you know, they really went out the way. Bless their beautiful, dear little souls. They were so beautiful to me. And they said, we're going to say, you know, there's a psychic night. And, you know, and then anybody who wants to come in can come in. That doesn't mean no, just got an itch. Could it be, I will say this, the Brookvale, yeah, just off George Road. There we are. I will say that, Martish Babies, okay? There we are. I will say that, okay? Anyway, so one dear lady come to myself, and I remember, because I had a pint of black currant soda. There we are. I remember that evening. Wasn't so long ago, Mardish Babies. Was it, what, 2-3 years ago? There we are. I remember it. And she came in and she said, what about and the name? And as I was doing the reading with my cards, I said, he's not going to be here. That's what I said, Mark. There we are. Mardish Babies, there we are. That's what I said. And I carried on doing the read. There we are. I carried on doing the reading. I never forget it. Okay? Well, I think it was the following year, I had a conversation with a dear lady, and she said that dear lady was one of my friends. I was very polite, by the way, during the reading. I was very, very polite. But she said, do you remember what you said on? And at first, I never remembered it, because usually, dear spirit, they give it me. I give it to whoever it is. There we are. Then it gets thrown out. Okay, Mardish Babies. But I said, okay. And I still never remembered when she told me. It's only when I came home and then I thought, oh gosh, yeah, I remember that. But she said to me, she said, do you remember who you spoke to? And you said that this dear loved one's name wouldn't be here anymore. And she said, and that's exactly what happened. There we are. Because I think he passed away the following year. Could have been, there we are, could have been the same year, actually. I'm trying to remember now. But anyway, but I just said, not going to be here. Okay, Mardish Babies. So when we look at witches, there we are. So you're a witch, there we are, because you say something that is going to happen. So does that make you a witch? Does that mean that you should be what they used to do decades ago, be burnt at the stake because you're telling, there we are, foretelling what's going to be happening in the future? There we are, because that's what happened. Okay, Mardish Babies. I had many where I used to live. And then they said, oh gosh, I needed to come and knock on your door, Carla, because, you know, when I did the reading at the time, some happened very, very, very quickly, but others took a little bit of time, Mardish Babies. Anyway, what's the point that I'm saying? What I need right now, because I've got a little bit of a problem, okay? And what's my problem that I've got? And I'm hoping, there we are, that somebody can help me. Because when I spoke to a dear lady who owns a spiritual church, they do meditation there and everything. She's been there for decades. Bless her beautiful, dear little soul, okay? She's been there for decades, okay? But when I asked so many months ago, I said, well, can I come to meditation? Now, normally she would always say yes, but she said, no, Carla, she said, because you're far too, there we are, advanced. Sorry, can I please just put you on pause just for a minute, Martish babies, please and thank you. I'm sorry about that, Martish babies. Anyway, so, you know, when we talk about witches, you know what I mean? I need to try and get back to where I need to get back to. When we talk about witches, like witches are putrid and horrible. Anyway, let me get back to that point that I wanted to talk about. So anyway, so I contacted somebody a while ago who I know, who, bless her beautiful dear little soul, you know, she's had a spiritual church for so many years, okay, decades. And I said, so, well, can I come to meditation? And she said, well, the thing is, she said, you're too advanced. Okay, Madlish baby. So I said, well, can you direct me to somebody who I can do a trance? There we are, because I really, really need this now. So to whoever it may be out there in the world, okay, I need you to send me somebody who is the best, there we are, that the best can be, okay, so that I can do the trance, because the trance, okay, is what's going to get the message out, okay, to whom it may be, okay. Now then, but I asked her, I said, well, what about, you know, somebody who, you know, I could do a one, there we are, a one-to-one with. I said, can I please do a one-to-one? And I'll pay them the ka-ching, ching, ching, the change to do it. Because there we are, there's something I need to get out. There we are, and I cannot get it out. There we are, and this is a problem that I'm having, my delicious babies. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I need somebody to send somebody, okay, there we are, so that I can get this out, because I need to go into, there we are, deep meditation. But it has to be, I would have been quite happy just to do it in a circle, but this needs to be done one-to-one, okay? And to get this information out, there we are, to everybody, there we are, okay? But she mentioned a couple, but then she just never got back to me, bless her. She never got back to me, so there we are. It's like I'm flipping back to square one. Do you understand what I mean, my delicious babies? I never need to stumble there, because really, she's a beautiful dear lady, you know. She's got older now. She doesn't like me sending her any videos, you know, to do with anything. She says, because you're just scaring everybody. It's like she just doesn't need it. I mean, she's nearly 90 now. I mean, bless her beautiful dear little soul. But I'll never forget when I very first went, there we are, to Circle. I'll never ever forget that. And, you know, I only, there we are, wish her peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings. There we are, always. You know what I mean, Mardish babies? But she just cannot cope with, you know, what's gone on, because she doesn't want to believe it. She says, I believe in my spirituality, and she happens to be a master. She's a master, so she's, you know, I think she still does it now. She teaches at the master level. She teaches the healing and everything, marvelous babies. So, you know, so if anybody out there we are, can help myself, you know, there we are, that's all I'm asking. And send somebody my way, you know what I mean? And please and thank you. and that I can do the trance, okay, because I'm very fully capable of it, okay, and then there we are, then give out that information, there we are, okay, then I'll give the information out, no problem. But when ones call others witches, you know what I mean, Martish baby. So what? There we are. We're witches because we can. There we are. Give information out. There we are, and that makes us witches. Oh, right. So what about the kings? There we are. What about the queens? What about the dames? What about the MBEs? What about the OBEs? What about whatever fucking BEs? Okay, Martish babies. You know what it is? They're just little fucking shits, man. There we are. And the reason why they're little fucking shits is because they do not want any of us. There we are. They're not a liking. Yeah, got it. They're not a liking. Okay? That we can get in, there we are, to their fucking damn business. Okay? There we are. Martish babies. They do not want that. Okay, Martish babies case, and therefore we're called witches. Just like with nuns and all this now. Oh, we cannot go near anybody, there we are, who talks about spirit. And I've had that myself, Martish babies, okay? The fact of the matter is, there we are, we know more than they know, isn't it? Because they have to go in as nuns and priests. Well, actually, priests are dirty little fucks, isn't they, for the majority? There we are, Martish babies, okay? Because they're dirty little paedophiles. Nuns, they have to go into their own room now and play with their own lettuce. You know what I mean? Because man is man, there we are, and woman is woman. So they have these urges. Do you see what I mean, Martish babies? Okay, but if you're a nun, it's like, oh, you cannot be with anybody. You have to be on your own. Well, come on. You got your left hand or your right hand, so you're going to use it, isn't it? There we are, as a form of relief. Okay, with a priest, well, they either play with the damn cells with a free card, or very sadly, they fucking go into paedophilia, which is what, there we are, most of them do now then. So I'm just done telling it the way it is. So if ones do not like what I got to say, then they do not like it. But if anybody out there knows anybody who can do one-to-one, okay, with myself and whomever, then please send them my way. Okay, Martish babies, because I will go into deep meditation and then I'll give out the information. And then there we are. And then that's the best I can do. Okay, so I've already, with love, sent it out. Okay, so if anybody's interested, there we are, then please send it to myself. Okay, somebody who I feel is exceptionally, there we are, good at what they do. Okay, Martish babies, that's what I'm interested in. Okay, it's one-to-one, in other words, meditation, going into trance so that I can give out the information. There we are, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, Martish babies, so if anybody can do that, there we are, then it'd be hunky-dory ticket-to-be. If not, then, well, that's simply simple things the way life goes. But I know, there we are, that I can do this. There we are. Okay, Martish babies. And anyway, I already know that, there we are, that one day, which I do, that I will have everybody where we are in, there we are, a very beautiful, angelic, there we are, system. There we are. And I already know this. There we are. I already know this. Okay. There we are. It's only a matter of time. Okay. And I've been working on it. There we are. Long time. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, yes, I have. That doesn't mean change. What that means is not pound, shilling, pence, dollars and change. I didn't mean it like that. What I mean is, there we are. We're going to make positive change. Okay, Martish babies, that's into my video. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may there we are, your beautiful little selves, your beautiful little families all be fully protected. And who it is that I really, really, really want to see, they know who they are. Okay, there we are. I will be doing that. And yeah, we shall restore. There we are. That's the word I got. We shall restore everything. There we are, back to where it should be. Okay, Martish baby. So thank you so very much for listening. How I love you so, so very much love. Take care. Thank you for listening. Thank you for any likes. Thank you for any views. How I love you so. Goodbye.